Bloody Valentine.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. If you are celebrating, my name is Ryan Cam. I hope that you have a significant other. I hope that you tell them that you love them and avoid pickaxes. Why do I tell you that last part? Well, it's because myself and a guest are going to be reviewing the original My Bloody Valentine. This was released in 1981. It was directed by George Mihalka. I probably butchered that, and I'm sorry. And like I said, I have a guest with me today. He was on relatively recently to talk about Happy Death Day. Well, this time around, I mean, it's a Canadian horror movie, so I had to bring in the most Canadian man that I knew. It's Kyle from Flet's Pop Culture 13. Kyle, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. And yes, you want to avoid pitch axe and mines on Valentine's, especially if you're celebrating Valentine's. Yeah, I'm happy to be here, man. Looking forward to discuss My Bloody Valentine from 1981 with you.
And this is this is a this is a really weird one. One that I really like, but it's weird in the sense, Kyle, that with the exception of a remake that came out in 2009,
Hmm.
there is only one My Bloody Valentine movie. There's no sequels, there's no dequels or legacy sequels or anything of the sort. And I'm not necessarily saying that there's not going to be one day. I'm sure Blumhouse is working on one as we speak. But
Yes.
it's just bizarre that it's like the original and then the remake, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to send you a fan film that's on YouTube, uh, um, Ryan, because it's very well shot and it's a sequel to the original. So, but yeah, there's no official sequel out there. So besides that.
But the movie tells the story of a little town that is preparing to celebrate Valentine's Day. They're a mining town, and there's a lot of intermingling stories going on. However, there is an old-time legend of a miner named Harry Warden who was left to die in the bottom of one of the mines. Well, Harry Warden is back, and well, he's gonna be a bit of an axe-swinging maniac. Let's just leave it at that. But I've seen this movie a few times now, Kyle, and I personally have always enjoyed it. I would put it in the underrated category. I don't know if we call this a slasher or not, but I consider it a slasher, right?
Yes, it's a slasher film, and I think it's very, very underrated in the slasher film genre. And I really love this film, especially I got the underrated version of for Scream Factory, and I recommend anyone who's a fan of this movie go watch the unrated version because there's some really gnarly kills, especially the opening gets a little extended to it, and there's just something about I think that Henry Warren's an underrated villain because this is something creepy about his mask, his mighty mask, and the way he's looking and his acts. Very creepy. And then put yourself, you're stuck in a mine with him. That's a creepy saying to begin with.
I
So
wanna
yeah, I think that
I want to touch on that in just a second, but the one of my biggest compliments that I have here is that I love the look of this town. It's called Valentine Bluffs. It's a
yes.
Canadian mining town in like just it feels like the middle of nowhere. And it's completely decked out in Valentine's like day garb. It's pink everywhere. There's hearts. Like Harry Warden's signature is literally he leaves hearts out for people. So there is no mistake in being like, oh, this is clearly Christmas. No, this is Valentine's Day, and make no mistake. So the commitment to the bit is something that I appreciated.
Same here. And this is what made me love Valentine slasher horror. We need more of it. Thank to Heart's Eyes. Um, but no, my Bloody Valentine. I think the name for itself is awesome too. There's something called My Bloody Valentine. I'm like, geez, what a movie title that is. And yeah, this is one of the greatest Christmas. What am I saying? Canadian slasher films ever, besides Black Christmas, of course. But this one definitely, I think that the cast is very. I think who they casted perfectly too, and they make this. This is also good mystery, Ryan. You think it's this one person and another person until the twist comes along. So
I also, yeah, and you were talking about Harry Warden for a second there. I think he's a really solid villain, especially when you learn about like he was left for dead and he had to resort to cannibalism and and the thing that drives it home for me, we never see his face. We
no,
just see the gas mask, and it's not like gas masks low key creep me out to begin with, but then you just see you just see the big eyes and the respirator in the front, the
And
big
the
old
breathing.
exactly, and you never see his face. I think you may see his eyes a couple times. My memory is not working in this particular moment, but like he almost feels like a force rather than an actual human. It's like clearly the filmmakers watched Halloween more than once. That and I'll throw Friday the 13th in there somewhere, maybe the original Black Christmas. Like scratch the Friday the 13th comparison, Black Christmas the original because in that movie we never see Billy's face. So,
No.
and in Halloween we never see Michael Myers' face unless you count like young Michael.
And I agree with you, and I think it's the right choice not to show his face because I think if he ever did show Harry Warren's face and who's ever under the mining killer's face, would ruin the mystique of My Bloody Valentine. I think it would take away the scare factor, the creep factor, and what makes him an underrated villain.
Another thing that I really loved is that I appreciated how the town Valentine Bluffs feels lived in. Like they give
Yeah,
these people personalities. And some of them are like I feel like are standard like tropes. Like there's the drunk one and there's the loud one and there's like it falls into that. But I'm just glad they're not bodies. I think one of the more interesting characters is one he's returning home. He set out from Valentine Bluffs to try and make a living and it clearly failed. And so he's kind of coming at me like, I'm back now, which like it would have been interesting if they did do a sequel to see if maybe they would have done something more with that.
same here. And I would love to see them more deal with that. I always wondered where the story would continue, especially the ending, the way it ends. I know we'll get to that, but the way it ends. There's just something mystique about the town too that's never been really explained. The town's its own character itself, and even some of the ladies in the films are not just pretty faces in the movies either. There's some really good acting actresses in this movie too, I think. And yeah, and th- this is when I see My Blade Valentine, some of the kills are gnarly too.
I agree. There's the one in the laundromat. There's one I believe involving a meat hook or like I don't know what that's
Yeah,
called, but like it I could have sworn it was a meat hook, but like make no mistake that this is a slasher in like the definition of the word.
yeah, and it's one of the most, it's what defies what a 80s slasher um um practical effects is. My gosh. It definitely was the first of its kind and was way ahead of its time to really set the game to tone what we got now. So
I also I did enjoy how Canadian it all felt. And I know the movie was produced in Canada and it was definitely shot
dang.
on location, but going back to how it feels lived in, I loved how like you hear the subtle like Canadian drawls of it all. I just I love those little accents like that, if you will.
Yeah, there's a lot of Canadian accents in there, and especially from all kinds of Canadian accents from all over Canada. So they threw in so many accents. Um, and there were a few that felt like that were from the more east side of Canada, and that's what I loved about that. It really felt like a really Canadian film too. Um, so they really did that job well done. I even loved some of the sets they chose, and some really cool cam work. I thought it was very well directed. They really nailed that aspect.
Yeah, and like we've been alluding to, this came out in 1981. Just for
Yeah,
context's sake, Halloween came out in 78, Friday the 13th came out in 80. So the groundwork for the backbone of slasher horror, and I'll just throw 80s horror in there as well, the foundation was being laid in these first couple years right here, like late 70s into the 80s and we would get Freddy Krueger in '84 to round up the Rogues Gallery. But it just startles me how there was never Harry Warden only got like one movie. And part of me is relieved because
yeah,
like
yeah.
like with Halloween and how crazy the mythos got there, like the with the sequels and reboots and legacy sequels, and just it just got all confusing and all of that. I'm low key glad that Harry Warden only has the one movie, but outside of the remake, which I have not seen, so I cannot comment, but it's a bit of a shame that where the movie leaves off, it's like we can do My Bloody Valentine 2 even bloodier if you want. And just for the sake of context, the movie did make 5.7 million on a $2 million budget, so it was somewhat profitable. I'm
Yeah.
just shocked that even from Paramount, who produced Friday the 13th, arguably in a bit of a slasher mood, this never got like a couple sequels at the very.
I'm surprised we didn't at least get one sequel, but maybe for good reasons it didn't, and because I think it depends on what direction they would took it, maybe they could have got ruined. But I think if they decided to, I would love to see this story done right where they could continue with it because I think there was more, lore to tell with this. But maybe from a standpoint, we did this is one of the good reasons maybe it's just stayed as original film. But even the remake feels like a sequel. I know you haven't seen it, but I'm just saying it feels like a sequel to more than a remake. But whatever.
Yeah, I know Jensen Ackles is in that one from Smallville and Supernatural. That's all that I know.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was like, "What is this?" But now it's been like, "Oh, it's actually not that bad." But it's on the watch list. Point is, this is getting an amazing grade from me. Underrated doesn't really quite cover it. I really, really like this movie, and I unironically think it's a very well done slasher. It's got its rough edges, sure, but I chalk that up to being like, it was made for $2 million in Canada. Like, it could have been way worse. But the fact that they made it interesting, grisly, and just generally feel like it belongs in on a Valentine's Day, like, it understood the assignment and it did the job correctly.
Yeah, from the killer to killer Harry Warren to the casting to the direction, and then in the kills because I recommend the underrated version because it really gives that movie justice. And there's some really shocking moments, and I think the way it ends too leaves you your jaw dropping, and it leaves you more for more. And then there's even a twist in there, which I always allow the viewers that who haven't seen this go watch it before we ever discuss it. So.
Yeah, please don't look up anything about it either. Just go into it blind. Like it's best to go into most movies blind, but especially here because it's one of those ones where like you think you know where it's going, but then it's like, oh, and then you don't think about it until it happens, and you're like, why did I not see that one coming?
Even the poster tricks me, Ryan. It's because it has like Valentine hearts over it and blood, and then it has the minor mask too. So just it's a very underrated poster. It intrigued me. So
Could not agree more. And I think there is some comfort in knowing that this movie has gotten a bit of a cult following. You mentioned Scream Factory has a Blu-ray out with some never released footage at the time of press and is unrated, which I will definitely need to seek that out because I watched it on this service called Canopy, which is a free library service in the US. And I believe it's the original version, so I did not watch the unrated version for this, but I need to make that a priority.
yeah, pick up the Screen Factory version because it does this movie justice for what it would they should have did.
And one more note before we close things out. I mean, I think holiday horror needs to be more of a thing because if like Thanksgiving, Hard Eyes, and like other examples have proven, like there is a market there. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think Christmas, Valentine, even Halloween, like more Halloween traditional, and even Easter, I think would be cool. I think holiday and more Halloween's how holiday slashers in general because Terrifier 3 proved it, Hard Eyes just proved it, and even with Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving the sequel coming eventually. So I think holiday type slasher films and especially done right needs to make a comeback. So
Definitely. But I pass it off to all of you. What did you think of the OG My Bloody Valentine if you have seen it? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to read what you have to say. And Kyle, it's always a privilege to talk horror with you. I mean, talk movies in general, but horror especially. But where your channel's linked below, what do you got coming up?
So as we record this, I just dropped a Hard Eyes my thoughts videos on it today. If you haven't seen the movie, go check out the video. And then this Friday, this Friday doing a double stream because this Friday I'm doing a Scream 5 watch party with Horror and Cream Something Scary, and then later that evening I'm joining Brian again, but this time on 3D movie cinema, joining Jake, Matt White, and uh, Jacob Mark and forward to watch Batman and Robin to continue our Batmentary. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. And then there's a lot of interviews coming up. And if you're all horror fans and just movies in general, Adrian Barbeau and Dick Warlock and Adam Marcus is coming on the channel for interviews. So stay tuned. And there's a lot of other content I got coming up. So you can find me on my YouTube channel, Let's Movies and Pop Culture 13. So
If you want to watch us freak out at Batman and Robin, you need to subscribe to 3D Movie Cinema. Like,
yes.
that's going to be a very good time indeed. But as far as this channel goes, the David Lynch project is ongoing. Stay tuned for that. Talking Silence, Small Talk, whole nine. Got a lot of content coming out this year, so stay tuned for all of it. But thank you all so much for watching. For Kyle, my name is Ryan Cam. We will see you all in the next one. Y'all take care and tell someone you love them.
Happy Valentine's, everybody.